Welcome back, casuals.
Woo! Let's get motivated.
They carried me out and then just launched me like a little javelin.
Who do you think you are?
Okay, we're live. Welcome back.
Welcome back,
Welcome back for another
casuals.
one.
Live.
Cheers, brother.
Straight into it.
I like that.
Mr. Ian Bone, welcome to the Casual As podcast.
Thanks
Gentlemen,
for coming on, man.
thanks for having me.
Now, we're just trying to get, a lot of local lads, not just lads, local people, Townsville, North Queensland people, interesting people on for a chat.
Interesting people from all different backgrounds.
I think
Bit of everything.
North Queensland has like some hidden talent, I think. It's
100%.
a nice place to live. I think there's plenty of business opportunities up here. We've got great athletes in a bunch of different sports. I think it's a good place up here. Things
Definitely,
are still
yeah.
good in mighty Queensland, and the further north you go, I think the more relaxed things get.
Yeah, for
Proper
sure.
chilled out. You from North Queensland originally?
No, actually, I grew up in Canberra, so with all the public servants. My dad was a public servant.
Yep.
Mum was an accountant turned school teacher for 30 years. And I grew up there, and they moved to Sydney, and I rebelled and jumped in and joined the military in 99, and
Awesome.
I ended up in Townsville like many people do, and I've now been here for, 25, 26
Stayed
years
here.
now.
Awesome.
Loved it that much. So did you go military, straight 18, out of school? Or?
Yeah, straight out of school. I don't think school was a very good fit for me. It was pretty funny. If you looked at my year 12 report card, it was like A, E, D, A, B, E. Like I either liked something or I didn't, and it didn't really fit with me. The idea of going to university was just crazy, like more school. Like this obviously didn't work for me. So I kind of joined the army because I couldn't make it as a professional athlete. I was like, what else can I do? I hear they train a lot in the army and they get adventures. I'll
Paid to train.
I'll go do that.
You obviously love just anything adventure, anything hectic.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little bit hectic, a little bit adventurous. I was actually really worried about the discipline when I joined the army. So I joined as a reservist first. Got to Kapuka, thought, it's not that bad being yelled at.
I hate getting yelled at.
Is that hard or what?
Yeah. Look, I think it is, but I think in the context of what you're meant to be doing, it has to be something that you get used to. Like, I suppose, if you're in the middle of a riot and you're peacekeeping, or if you're in the middle of a firefight, if somebody tells you to do something, you kind of need to do it.
Yeah.
There isn't time to go, oh yeah, but I don't really feel safe right now. I don't like your tone of voice, which is kind of where the world's gotten.
Oh, yep.
A little bit with that
Definitely.
kind of stuff.
I think it's coming back a little bit. It's coming back.
Yeah, I think we're swinging back.
Yeah.
I
hope
agree
so.
too, and people that run boxing clubs and things like that are, I think it's a necessary thing now to have somewhere where people can be disciplined and toughened up, but still kind of like
Remain composed and hectic.
remain
situations.
composed
Yeah.
and some kind of respect and manners that goes along with it. So I really respect people that put their time out and create, whether it be a boxing club, a Thai boxing club, or
This could lead into a question. I was going to save this for later, but fuck it, we'll do it now. How important do you think it is for kids to get into, say, martial arts or combat sports and stuff like that, for that discipline in all the areas that you sort of mentioned?
We all want to know because we all got young kids.
Yeah,
and
I definitely don't think it's for everyone. I think it really involves the parents and the kids being somewhat engaged in it. But if you were a parent that was looking to run your family in a more disciplined kind of manner, respect for elders, those types of things, those are things that you could definitely find in a martial arts club that you're not going to get at school.
Yeah.
Like simply getting the kids to, do things like before class, in my club, they sit on the side of the mat and they wait for class because they've stepped into a disciplined environment, not a playground.
Yeah.
Because we're about to play fight and we teach them to throw each other, strangle each other, punch each other and kick each other. So when they get there, they're not allowed to punch, kick and throw each other until we tell them.
Yep. That's good. That's
So it's definitely, I know it's not how everybody runs their places, but I like that old school kind of little bit of respect. Yeah. Don't talk when your teachers are talking to you, address your coaches, with respect, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not sure that that's happening at school anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
I remember going to school and having to stand behind your chair before.
Had to line up too. Remember, you
Yeah,
had to line
before
up
they
before you
told
went
you
in-
to sit down and start the class.
We had
Stuff
to-
like
you
that.
had
I
to line up
definitely
before you
don't
went
think it
into your
happens
class.
now. Yeah.
You had to line up
Right.
boys one side, girls one side.
My kid, the school my kids go to, they don't even call them Mister or Sir or anything. They call them by their first
Yeah, that
name.
is
All
weird.
the
Yeah,
two,
I did
it's
hear
weird.
that.
Yeah, wow. I don't mind that too much. I always tell them, you kids can call me Ian if you're in trouble, coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't mind. I think sometimes manners can be hidden behind traditions, but we make sure that they talk to us
Yeah.
with respect. Like no answering back. Stop, listen, I'm
Yep.
talking to you, look me in the eyes, shake my hand, all that kind of stuff, which I think is good. We might be losing it a little bit, and I'd like to see it come back. But
Fucking
Yeah.
oath.
What is a good age, do you think, for kids? And I believe, because I see it a lot, I'm sure you do too, where the parents want the kids to do it, so they just bring them to the gym, and the kid isn't interested.
Oh, they just drop
But
them
if
off
the kid wants
the
to,
deal.
what do you think is a good age to get into martial arts?
anywhere between 5 and 15, there's no rush.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And we're going to say that again for people that are really tough to listen. Anywhere between 5 and 15, stop training kids like they're adults. They don't need to train in boxing, Thai boxing, or jiu-jitsu every day until they're able to go into adult classes. It's terrible for your body.
Yeah.
It's terrible for your brain. Take your time. Let them play other sports.
Let 'em be
By
kids.
all means, let them be kids. Let them take time off and do other sports. Let them come back. Please stop living through your kids.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's terrible when you see it. The kid's
Yeah.
just not interested, but it's probably a parent
And what the parents
or
sort
a
of just force
father
them-
who
force them
a
to do it,
father who
just-
probably hasn't done much, and then they're trying to force them to.
I mean, here's the
Yeah,
big one. I
tough
mean,
guy or-
this is probably for like all sports parents, rugby league included, because I'm sure, I mean, I went to one of my daughter's netball games and I was like, hey, kid, you want me here? You asked me. Otherwise, that was the worst experience I've ever had. I'm listening to an unfit parent next to
I
me
get you, yeah.
slurping on a slushie, talking about how the kids aren't having a very good game. To me, it looked like they were just having fun being kids. And I can't believe I'm listening to this person that obviously hasn't played a game of netball for the last 40 years, if ever.
The old couch warrior.
They're kids. They're 12-year-olds playing netball. Why are you judging them?
Yeah.
Let them play, But if your kid seriously wants to be good, if you have to wake them up in the morning to go for their run, if you have to convince them that they have to eat healthy to be an athlete, they're not developing the self-discipline that they should. By all means, tell them, but you can't.
Yeah.
You can't do everything for them.
Yeah,
they have to
They need
do
to
things
learn
for
their own
themselves.
drive, get their own drive.
They've got to learn their own drive. If they don't have that drive, they're never going to make it as a professional, or they're never going to win that championship belt that they want. They got to have that personal drive. You getting them up in the morning, you're almost doing the wrong thing, because what happens when you're not there?
Yeah.
Is it your dream or theirs? Because if it's their dream, they'll do
They'll be
it.
doing it. Yeah.
And that you're not going to compete with people whose it's their dream.
Yeah.
Because I get kids all the time. Like some kids, you just say something and you can see them. They're like, they
Absorbing
listen to everything, and you're like,
Sponging it up.
they might not even be that good at the time, not that physical, not that good. But I'm like, that kid in a year or two, he's going to be good if he just sticks with it. He'll be the one.
Consistency is such a big thing, eh?
Yeah, consistency,
work, like,
self-discipline,
yeah.
coachability,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, which I think comes from just kids doing a whole bunch of different sports and having good manners.
We'll get maybe a bit more into coaching. I want to just jump back into the military stuff, get some cool stuff out of that.
Okay. Yeah.
How long
Yeah,
did
we're
you
keen to
spend,
talk
and
about
like
military.
any deployments and stuff like that?
I served with the 2nd Battalion up here for 8 years. Some of the guys that train with me now go, "Oh, you in how long ago?" And I'm like, I got out the end of 2007. It's a lifetime ago. It's not really a big part of my life anymore. It was only 8 years, and I think for veterans looking to move on to other things, I think it's a good idea to have it be part of your life, but not
Yeah.
your identity. But
How was
it
your
was fun.
How
I
was the
did-
transition in the civvy?
It was difficult. I don't think it was easy. It was a little bit difficult because it is such a captivating experience, I suppose is a good way to put it. But I served over in East Timor twice, in the Solomons once. But in that 8 years, if I included all the deployments and all the bush X's, I probably slept in the dirt for 3.5 years.
Wow, that's unreal.
Which is a long time. It's a long way away from home for not that much money.
Not as much as people think.
Yeah, not as much as people think. I still think it was a good adventure. It probably put a few chips on my shoulder that I've been able to use in a positive way. But yeah, it's an intense experience, I think, is the best way to put it. But I enjoyed all the deployments that I went on. I was lucky enough to do a bunch of peacekeeping. One of the reasons I got out was I didn't really want to go overseas for our military, our bosses, or the people I was working with anymore.
Yeah, I get that.
And then, once you're at that point, you're kind of like, if you stay, it really starts to destroy your soul a little bit, like, again, once you know something's not a good fit for you, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Move on pretty quick.
Doesn't matter how much someone's paying you. If you're not happy doing something, I think move on. Find something. There's plenty of other things to do, eh?
You
I'd
have
rather
to.
less money, but be happy.
Yeah, 100%.
You have to. And it's difficult for the army guys because it's drilled into them,
That's all
we're
they
going to
know.
look after you. No one looks after you like us, all this kind of stuff. And, you might have joined because you were down on your luck, and didn't fit in other places, which is pretty normal.
But a lot of guys join like straight out of school. So
And it's
they're
all
only
they
coming
know.
from their parents who had looked after them first, and then the army looks after them, and it's
That's all they've known. They haven't really experienced the civvy life, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, you meet a lot of very different people.
I was going to say
That'd be the good-
so many.
that'd be the cool
different-
side of it.
every corner of the globe. I reckon.
Yeah, you're working with people from every city, a bunch of different demographics. I wouldn't say all young people. Definitely went through with a couple of older people looking to either change their lives or for a bit of adventure. Those guys tended to either stay and love it or leave right at the end of their
Yeah.
4 years, I think.
The brotherhood and
mandatory,
camaraderie of it seems like an awesome aspect.
Yeah, I think it is. Again, one of the reasons why I love sports is like I didn't lose that camaraderie at all.
Yep.
I started training maybe a year or two before I left, and I just was so obsessed with it. I never lost the camaraderie because I had a gym to turn up to where you got to play tough guy again,
Yep.
which was good for me.
Was there much? Did you do much training while you were in the army?
There used to be, when I first started, a bunch of boxing clubs, but we were just so heavy on deployments, sports almost disappeared. Even rugby, which is their favourite sport, it would come around once a year, and then we would literally train for one session, and then we'd play a bunch of games. Then you'd go field, you'd come back, and they're like, "Oh, we got a game on again this weekend," and we'd train for one session, and then we would play. But for me, it was a good excuse to get rough with people of all different rank levels, which I thought was super fun. It was like a leveling playing field. So the RSM used to rock up to me at the beginning of the game and goes, "All right, Corporal Bone, no getting into fights."
Yeah, that's your excuse, eh? To bloody pick on other people.
Well, they were pretty easy to draw into fights because they weren't used to people talking to them.
Yeah.
Smack talk.
But you could sledge them on the rugby field. It was,
Get them backs.
It was expected.
I heard they used to do a heap of like what do you call it? Like
Inter-battalion?
Inter-battalion fight nights and all.
Yeah, they
Was
kind
there
of
any of that stuff involved,
They
or?
definitely disappeared for a little bit. They definitely disappeared for a little bit, but they did run a handful of them at the time. Yeah, they used to be fun.
Because I'm sure there'd be a lot of people who can fight, but then there'd be a lot of people who think they can as well. So that'd always be interesting. But fit, strong guys.
Yeah, it was. They used to match them up fairly well.
Yeah,
They
good.
used to find people that were training outside and match them up pretty well.
good.
They were pretty exciting nights. Hopefully they bring them back.
Yeah, that would be
They
good.
kind of replaced them at the moment with almost jiu-jitsu tournaments.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
true.
Well, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think there was a guy in 3RR years and years ago that put the end to the boxing because he had a couple of concussions boxing and playing rugby, and he ended up, I think, dying from a concussion.
Brutal.
Yeah, and we all know more about concussions these days. Like everybody knows, it's like, well, 30 days, no sparring, no contact. It's bigger on the rugby fields now. Everybody knows if you get knocked out one game, you shouldn't be playing next weekend. And hopefully people are starting to take it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, that is a massive thing that people have learned recently, which I think is great.
Breaking down, CTE and the long-term effects.
Still a lot of old school people who, you know, they're getting lit up in sparring or getting knocked out on a footy field during training, and then they chuck them in next week.
Straight back to it.
No, you'll be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually wild to me, to be honest. Like once you know, once you've met somebody who's like you've watched their speech change over time, or you've seen them get knocked out one too many times and their character's changed. You know, these things happen. You know, like you might not be the same after you get concussed.
Yeah. And CTE is a real thing.
It's a super real thing. I mean, John Wayne Parr just came out.
Yeah,
he has some brain damage from all of his fighting and has some adult onset Tourette's, you know.
Really? Wow.
Which is caused, and we know that Parkinson's is a thing that you can develop later in life as well. So people should just take it a little bit seriously.
Yeah,
you know, especially if you've got all these world champions and people telling them that like you don't need to hard spar all the time and you need to practice, learn, and do things a little bit more playful. You know, but
what do you think are some of the best skills that you developed or learnt from the army that you then took later on in life, either through your own training or then your business afterwards, if any?
Yeah, I mean the ability to work 24/7 if I need to.
On the clock.
You know,
because they do that in the army, don't they? They spring it on you when you go out on bush trips. Do they spring it on you?
Well, I mean, when you're out there, like, I mean, there's no clock.
You're working the whole time.
There's no clock. Same as when you're on deployment. There's no clock.
No knock off at 5.
No, something needs to get done. You just work until it's done. You know, and I think now I'm still capable of. I like short periods of like, man, I don't mind being this busy. Let's figure it out. Taking some risk, and then just working your ass off until the job gets done. I mean, even when we moved to our second location, we would run that location during the day, and I'd pop back during the day, and I was helping the tradesmen with the fit out. Then I'd go back, run some classes if I need to, and then I'd go back at night and sweep up after the tradies. You know, like I was working from 6 to 11 at night for like 3-4 months. You know, just getting it done, so I didn't have to stop one thing and do the other thing. You know, and some people are just incapable of that. I think, you know, and we all should be for some point in time. Like if you really want to achieve something, you know, there is no clock.
Yeah, whatever it takes to get done, you should.
Yeah, whatever it takes. You know, do whatever you want. You know, especially if you want to be your own boss or you want some kind of lifestyle or hobby business, you know, just be prepared to work.
Work 24/7.
Don't
wear a watch.
Yeah, well, I mean, watches do help, but you know, I think some people just like, oh, it's all right tomorrow, it's all right the next day, but sometimes it isn't. If you can get it done now, then you're ready to go then the next day. You know, so I think the military was good for that. I think planning, preparation. I mean, it's funny because the military guys will probably laugh, but we get taught a process for, say, writing mission orders. So for my first mixed martial arts fight when I was training for it, I wrote myself a set of orders.
Okay.
You know, and in those orders, you would always get a section called actions on. So actions on, you know, contact, actions on ambush. So I did actions on for every single position that I could end up in.
Oh, yeah.
How I would
So
attack.
that's your SOP for.
And how I would defend from every position.
Yeah,
and I used it as a planning process so I could adjust my training and made sure I got all the right things done and was prepared in every position.
That would have helped you heaps, or what?
Yeah, it does. You know, and you know, it's funny to me. Sometimes I'll watch on the amateur scene, even though it's improved a lot, like people are really good but can't escape a particular position. And it's like, you know, is that guy putting himself into that position the most? you know, and we do it as like a matter of practice for a class structure and for the guys to, whenever they have a fight booked, you know, I'll let them do all their training and have some fun. Then I'm like, all right, make sure you do all these positions, and they'll do
Yeah.
a lot of worst case scenario stuff, just so
Be prepared.
so they're prepared
Yeah,
in every
in the
position,
worst
you know?
case, yeah.
So you can tick it rather
No
than
good always training being on the, like, you know, being in the dominant position or
Yeah, you're training
being,
what you're
being
good
the
at
aggressor or
when you
whatever.
can-
Because if say you have someone who comes to you and naturally they might be a bit better striker or they're really good at wrestling, do you focus more on their strength, get them so good at that one strength that they, you know, that they dominate someone, or do you put that aside for a bit and work on their
Try
weaknesses?
well-round 'em up a
You
bit.
know, like
I think for the amateurs, they need to be well-rounded.
Yeah. It's such a hectic sport where you need so many different
Yeah,
disciplines.
I think that the problem is you could have a certain amount of success and then you'll just be known as this guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're going to lose because you know, like you
Because
haven't
everyone
let
knows
your
your weakness.
everyone knows your weakness, and you haven't let your ego develop the other things to bring them up to a spot where they're good enough that you can survive
Yeah.
in that area. You know, I mean, it's the same as so boxing. You know, I notice a pattern where, you know, at an amateur level, go forward and fitness can definitely win. Like, it can be enough. You might not even be able to slip a punch, you know, but you've got nothing on the back foot, but it's 3 rounds intense. If you're super fit and you can keep punching, you can probably out-punch the other guy.
Win by
But
fitness, yeah.
But it doesn't last when the guy in front of you is just as fit and just as strong. You have 0 back foot and 0 angles, you know? So it's something that I think, instead of developing late, I would rather people lose a few decisions and stuff early
Yeah.
and be a little bit more well-rounded. And then I think once you start entering the professional ranks and developing a style, now you've got a style, not...
And then strengthen that style.
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
they-
because otherwise you're
Not at a
really
base level.
strengthening people's athleticism or talent. And, you know, I'll take a grinder over talent any day.
Yep.
Because unfortunately with those talented people, they want to stick with what they're talented to, and they become very uncoachable,
Yeah.
which is difficult. So early on, they just got to learn the fundamentals. Fundamental front foot, back foot, wrestling, whatever it is. You can't ignore those fundamentals and just go out. Sometimes, as an amateur, you should go, okay, well, I'm going to come out this fight and I'm going to back foot this guy. I'm going to counter fight him just to practice. And if you lose, but you just lost an amateur match.
Yeah.
But you can use those amateur matches as an opportunity to maybe get better at things. And I'd rather see someone do that than fight the same way towards their talents and keep losing when I can predict how you're going to lose. You know, I know you're going to get out wrestled if you lose this fight. And if we know that beforehand, why don't we fix it?
Because that just seems like such a juggling act to me. Like, obviously, only coming from boxing and being a boxing trainer and stuff, but like having to teach people everything would be like, how do you schedule? Okay, you need to do jits, you need to wrestle.
It's like
you need
3 or
to
4
fuck-
sports
like,
in one, really, eh?
Crazy.
So much.
Well, it is like the discipline to strike every day and grapple every day is the start. If you can't do that, you're not fighting.
Yeah.
You know, so you're going to have to be willing to do probably some conditioning in your own time and at least 2 hours of training every day. So you've got to be able to commit at least 3 hours a day. And if not, I don't mind. Like, that's fine. Find another team that will let you commit less time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm okay with that.
Yep.
And there's also sports with slightly less commitment.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I say that because if I was professional boxing, I'd probably want to train 3 hours a day as well. You know, just all my energy would be get better at going towards boxing. So I think it can be done. But I think that for me, that's a fun part, and that's part of the discipline that you're trying to get into these guys. Because regardless of whether they win or lose, then when you get to the end of the match, you're like, hey man, you did everything.
Yeah.
They
Yep.
don't do everything. They get to the end of the match, and like the only thing I can tell them, I can't tell them anything strategical or technical. All I can tell them is you didn't train enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew that before we got there. So why'd we go?
Yeah.
You know,
And going back to your career, Ian, what was your original discipline? What was the first thing
Well,
got you into the fight game?
It definitely wasn't as structured as it is now, because it's evolved a lot. So the first thing I did was I flew away for a jiu-jitsu tournament. I had a young family at home, working part-time, my own business part-time, so money was fluctuating, and I think I spent $800 to fly down to Sydney and do a jiu-jitsu tournament. And I think I got silver or something that day, and it just felt like wrestling guys at the gym. I'm like, I won some, I lost some, and that would happen every weekend. At the
So
gym.
what year would this have been?
It would have been about 2006,
Oh
I think.
shit! Oh, dear.
Would have been around then, and it was a lot of money for me at the time
Yeah.
to fly down there and pay the fees and whatnot,
fair enough, yep.
jiu-jitsu tournaments didn't exist in town.
I was going to say too, even anywhere, especially in Australia, 2005,
time ago.
2006.
Yeah, so they had regular tournaments in Sydney and Melbourne at that stage, and probably Brisbane had some starting to.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
pop up.
booming
The
like it is
scene
now.
wouldn't be what it is
Not now. Now,
yeah.
every month down in southeast Queensland, especially if you're willing to be in Gold Coast or Brisbane, which is only an hour away.
It's cracking off. Which is
compete
good. That's
every
awesome
month.
for Australian sports.
It's so good,
Yeah.
And I mean, we're doing well on an international level.
Yeah.
You look at
Got
guys
Craig
like
Jones, and got so many awesome
Yeah.
people at the moment.
really good grapplers, but also really good mixed martial arts competitors that have shown that they can wrestle with the Americans and
Yeah, well,
and all these other things as well, which we've been told in the past that we can't. But Australians are pretty tough, and the internet
100%.
has allowed us to buy the same wrestling DVDs that their high school kids get.
Power of the internet.
The power of the internet, which is good. So while we don't have wrestling competition here, I think the best form of wrestling that we can use is wrestling for jiu-jitsu and MMA anyway. So that's been fun. Yeah, so I got back at that, and I was just poor, and I was like, man, I got no money. That was really expensive.
Especially with a family, that would have been tough to do.
One of the guys sitting on the side of the mat, one of the older guys, is like, well, why don't you fight MMA? They'll probably pay for your flights. So at that point in time, I jumped on an internet forum, because that's what you did those days, because there was no Facebook. And I started asking who the promoters were and if they would match me and if they would pay for my flights. And then next thing you know, I think the first year I fought 7 times.
That's busy.
They did.
MMA
I had to manage myself at the beginning too. My coach wasn't even interested in coming. My coach at the time didn't come away with me until my 4th fight.
Really?
Yeah, so I was just going away with a guy,
Just winging it.
guy from the gym.
Were
that
they
was
all
willing to
MMA
come with me.
fights? Or you did a bit of everything?
No, they were all MMA fights. Yeah. I did a little bit of kickboxing at the beginning because there was a tiny little bit of kickboxing happening in Cairns and a little bit in Townsville, but not very much. So Thai boxing in Townsville and Cairns has improved. In
Cairns
the
is
last 20
popping,
years
It's
as well.
massive up in Cairns. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
Yep.
I think it's good here too. Every time we convince a Thai boxing promoter to come to town, which is something that I've worked on a little bit behind the scenes, they've always sold out.
Pretty successful, yeah.
Yeah. So we have another one, not this weekend, but next weekend, that I managed to help convince come to town.
I was going to ask
gonna talk about that,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have you had a bit of a hand in setting that up. Talk through that.
Well, I just think I'm really busy with a bunch of different sports, but I'm happy to network with these guys and help them come to Townsville, and if I can provide them competitors and a little bit of support behind the scenes, often you can get them to come. They're like, yeah, I want to take my show on the road, because they all want bigger, better shows. So Adam and the team in Aggression agreed to work with me and come up.
Down at the
Here we
Ville.
Yeah, we're using the Ville, which is good. And it looks like we'll get another MMA show this year too with my mate Damien, who I've managed to convince to come back. He did the entertainment centre
Last year,
which blew the roof off.
That fight.
exciting.
With your fellow was amazing. That
Oh
was,
man, it was,
he
fu-
was such a good. I was watching on my phone at home, just cheering. He went hard, eh?
It was amazing because he fought through the fire, and a lot of people said to me after that, they're like, you can't teach that, and I was like, stop. The only way you can ever work off autopilot like he did when he was wrecked is he wakes up and he trains, he He teaches people. He does the mental training and writes the fights out beforehand, every position, exactly what he's going to do. You do all these things, that mental training, that's what gives you the right to work on autopilot when part of your brain's been shut off. That is definitely trainable.
He got cracked in the first or the second and then just come back. He was just so fit, that fella.
Yeah, he got a little bit charmed standing in front, which is something that the city kickboxing guys are good at.
Yep.
And so he got a little bit rocked in the first round. He managed to be able to make adjustments and not stand in front, and then he was then started to pull him apart a little bit because Adam's hands were a little bit low. As long as he wasn't standing in front, he was good. So I think he showed everyone how tough he is and how capable
so much
he is.
heart, So much heart.
Yeah. Fun. Really nice guy too, Jack James.
Yep.
Bricktop on Instagram if anyone wants to.
Go give him a follow and watch what's coming up next. See what's coming up next.
He'll like that. Well, he's fighting this weekend.
Oh, really?
Down in Brisbane against another city kickboxing guy.
Was that on Eternal? or no, what's the other one?
Beatdown.
Beatdown, that's it, yep.
Beatdown.
Same thing, yep.
So we managed to score a match with Blood Diamond after he got released from the UFC.
Oh, really? Is he fighting Blood Diamond?
Yeah.
Oh, hectic.
Yeah, so that's another big step up for him. We've done nothing but fight good opponents for Jack.
Yep.
And try and find those matches that would make his record look like something super respectable. So hopefully...
Good on him.
Hopefully he keeps going.
This Blood Diamond guy, he fought in the UFC.
Yeah.
He fought in the UFC. He has 50 plus kickboxing matches. He was fighting
from City Kickboxing.
Yeah, he was fighting in China alongside Izzy, I think. So, very accomplished combat sports.
Yeah, really good striker.
Athlete, which is good. But I feel like we've done all the work. I mean, Jack's boxed, kickboxed. Done a bunch of jiu-jitsu tournaments, so he's a real true mixed martial artist. So it'll be exciting for him to test all his training.
I think it's great that there's local guys get the opportunity up here too. These people
So
bring
far
the
away.
Thai boxing and the MMA shows because we don't get that a lot.
A lot of it's Southeast Queensland, yeah.
Footy, obviously, footy is the only thing people care about up here. That it's awesome to show that if you bring a show here, you can sell it out.
Yeah, I think you can. I do think promoting is extremely difficult. So for all the promoters out there, I'll tip my hat to you. It's extremely difficult dealing with all the different kinds of matchmaking requirements, egos, politics,
reliability,
relationships, reliability, all that kind of stuff. Again, it's up to us as coaches to support them and fans too. Even if you don't know anyone on the card, maybe go down, have a look, and then
get down to the Ville and watch some.
Where are they doing at the Ville? They're doing it
Muay
at the back, like the grassy area.
no, down in the pavilion.
Oh, the pavilion.
Yeah, I've been in there
down
for
in
a
the
few
pavilion.
events. It's
Have you?
nice.
That'd be a nice
Been in there
area.
yet. I've only seen it.
Yeah.
Fucking
It's flash, bro. It'd be awesome area for fights.
Yeah, it's really good. We were lucky enough during COVID, they dropped their prices, and we ran a few jiu-jitsu tournaments there. It was really cool, inside aircon. It was really nice looking.
Then you look out the glass
place.
windows, you see
all
like
ocean
the
and shit.
Honey's at the pool.
Yeah. yeah, it's real good. If we can keep selling out shows, obviously it's just difficult because it's such an eclectic sport. Not that many people are willing to do what it requires to actually step into the ring. So it's always going to be a little bit of a eclectic sport, I think, but super exciting. So if you like watching boxing or Thai boxing on television, definitely live is just as exciting. And if you've got some friends fighting, I'm sure they'll love to hear you cheering in the crowd.
get down and support the local Townsville boys.
Yeah, I do enjoy watching the Townsville teams fight. It's
That
exciting.
last one on the beatdown with Bricktop, that sounded loud. It sounded like it was like an awesome atmosphere to be at, especially in that last round.
Yeah, it was pretty hectic. Unfortunately, I think to really profit out of the entertainment centre, you got to sell about 1,500 seats. So I think there was about 700 or 800. But
Oh, okay. So you need about double.
yeah, you
Really,
need about
really
double.
fill it up. Yep.
It's an empty shell, so unfortunately, what people don't realise when you pay it, you actually got to pay for the lighting and all these other things. So if you're
All the
doing some
technicians.
kind of production,
Oh, so
on
many
YouTube,
additives.
Yeah, there's so many add-ons, so it doesn't come with lighting and all these things. So you can spend 15, 20 grand on lighting.
Man, that's hectic.
Which is hectic, right? Like, so no one really
Holy.
understands the
These
risks.
boys are lucky. They just got me for free.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that. Then you got to add everything else: the audio, I suppose, the commentary.
Yeah, the audio, the commentary. Once you get all those things added up, plus flights,
Getting everyone up here.
Yeah,
accommodating people.
You really need to be able to fill half the card with locals.
Yeah, and it was a good card. There was some good knockouts before it.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
It was really good, and a lot of the Townsville guys got up. So did a lot of the North Queensland guys.
Yeah, one Mackay fella got a wicked knockout. I can't remember his name.
Man, those guys in Mackay MMA are good. So shout out to those guys. I really like that. I really like that club. I really like the Fusion
boys.
guys.
The Mayoki brothers are so cool.
Yeah, those guys are world class. So they'll go pro. And they're going to do well. So hopefully we see those guys start to mix it up internationally at some point, which I think will be.
Well, one's over
big
at
lift.
City Kickboxing.
I think he got that scholarship or something. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, so I think he's just come home for a bit, but he's been over there. They're definitely fully invested.
good on him.
Nice family, great gym.
They got a good I like the vibe about them too. They got
Just
the mullets.
real-
They wear their dad comes in with the hat with the Kubras and that. They got their good little,
Real
North Queensland boys. Yeah,
country lads. Eh?
Yeah, I was about to say that they are definitely North Queenslanders for sure.
Shout out to them boys. Good
Yeah.
good luck to everyone.
Yeah.
Going forward, it'd be awesome to see them.
And like we're talking about before, the Australian talent right now, like world class, like you see like the Volk and the Robbies and the Jack Della Madalinas, their wrestling they've come up with against some world elite wrestlers and done well.
I think Australia builds good, tough athletes. I mean, rugby league, rugby union, AFL, these are tough sports.
It does seem like
our soldiers have a reputation around the world for being tough, but we're going to lose it if our government keeps making it something that it's not. Like they don't like boxing, they don't like martial arts.
they tax them so much.
Whereas there's an undercurrent. You can see it. You can see it in the clubs. You can see, we love sports. We like hard sports.
Yep.
So I really think it would be nice to see the government start to support these sports a little bit. But I'm also worried about the combat sports associations coming to Queensland.
Yeah, New South Wales.
regulating.
Because I would love to say they made it safer, but some of the matches that they approved, like there was a match once approved with he was about 10-12-0 against a guy that was like 2-10.
Yeah.
And it's like, why have a combat sports association if you're going to do these things? I really think self-regulation isn't such a terrible thing, and 90% of the shows we go to have doctors, bloods, and all the smart things done anyway. And all the lower level shows, even if I hired a paramedic, they can't do anything that a senior first aider can't do, and you've got to call an ambulance. Which is just wild, because obviously we've run some lower level amateur shows, pads, 16-ounce gloves, that type of thing, and we looked into it. But if I hired a doctor or a paramedic, all they do is call the ambulance.
Yeah, exactly. You could have anyone in the crowd with a mobile phone do the same job.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild. But at the same time, this is the world we live in. You have to accept it a little bit. And if you're going to complain about things, I do think you need to be part of the solution a little bit.
Just find a way around
Yeah.
regulations.
Find a way around it. That's what we end up doing. And we end up doing quite well. We had no Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts in Townsville when I started. Now we've produced 7 of our own.
Oh, awesome.
Really awesome.
Yeah, it's just, if you're good to people and you keep them around and you allow them to express yourselves, you'll keep your team around for long enough to build those
So
things.
you got a black belt?
Yeah, I ended up earning my black belt from the John Jack Machado group and Paul Cale, who's a fairly well-known Australian martial artist. So it's a long journey. There's just so much stuff to know in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I bet.
To be honest,
I bet.
there's just so much stuff to know. And then
Expansive sport.
yeah, when you can only travel to be coached, so there was no one here in town that was really able to keep up. So we I would travel and I would learn things. Sometimes I would watch people warming up backstage. There was a fighter that fought in the UFC, Bernardo Treco, and we started fighting about the same time.
yeah.
And I'd watch him warm up sometimes, and I would steal his techniques. He'd leave the room, and I would noted. He would leave, and then I would try it out. And be like, all right, sweet, I got it. I'd go back, and I would teach it back. So thanks, Bernardo, for sharing dressing rooms with me. I stole things from you.
Who else were some guys on the scene back then? Like there was, because I remember early on, and then guys in the early UFC like Elvis Sinisic,
Kyle Noak.
Anthony Perosh. He was a good jiu-jitsu player, eh?
Well, at that point in time,
George Soteropoulos.
when I started, Anthony was still building reputation in Australia. So we kind of fought around the same time, but he went to the UFC pretty quick. Elvis was almost done at that point in time.
He was like, he would have been
On the
one of
way
the
out.
first Aussie guys.
Yeah,
I
he definitely was one of the innovators. So yeah, he was definitely one of the first Aussies. Kyle Noak went and moved to train with Greg Jackson and live in the States. So, I mean, that scored him a run in the UFC. So, shout out to Kyle Noak. He's a pretty inspirational kind of martial artist. And then there was James Tahuna.
Yeah.
So he was good. And one of the reasons he stopped too was it was a little bit of head stuff as well. You know, going to training and
Remember him
not
doing that
remembering
mad
sparring.
entrance, like the Men in Black entrance or
Yeah.
something? They come out in all these cornermen dressed in Men in Black. And
Yeah, he was so good, man. He was so exciting to watch. So shout out to James Tahuna. We all loved watching your fight career. What a legend. But yeah, I love all those guys. But it's been fun to watch it evolve. And
massive evolution over 15, 20 years.
I think it's been good for all combat sports. I mean, I if I could go back in time, I would have boxed and Thai boxed in between fights a lot just to stay more active. So I could fight 5-6 times a year, every year. I think would have been nice, like while your body's good and you're young.
To keep fit or just
Get
to
amongst
get more well-rounded, bit of everything?
More well-rounded, but I think, the chance of making it to either the UFC or even like as an international boxer, like you're talking about the top 2%, if you really want to enjoy it, it's probably something that's best enjoyed between 15 and 30.
Yeah.
Things do start to break down in your early 30s.
Well,
It can be difficult to keep going, and if you're worried about things like CTE and dementia and all those types of things happening, you probably want to make sure that when your body can't keep up with the training, it's probably time to retire.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know when to stop, do they?
Yeah,
Sadly.
I think it's easy to have it be part of your identity. Like, if I'm not a boxer, no one will know me, no one will care about me. Like if I'm not fighting MMA, there's no point training and all these types of things, which I think is important to drum into kids and people early, that like the best thing you're getting out of training is like sharing sweat with a couple of growth-minded people. You're healthy, you're disciplined, you eat well, you're not partying every Friday night because you got sparring on Saturday. There's so many benefits to it that just really outweigh the benefits of winning fights.
Yeah. I was talking about that with someone the other day about with anything, but particularly boxing, like it becoming your identity and not really having anything else. And
transition
I
to
said,
out of
I
it,
would not like that. You don't want to be known as just the footy player, just a boxer.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's more important to be known as, a good bloke or
Good dad.
a good father, all the rest of the things, rather than just that identity.
Same as when you go to training, you don't want to be known as the guy that just bashes everyone.
Yeah.
You're going to run out of training partners.
There's always one.
And you'll be jumping from gym to gym. You actually help the new guys be good.
Have you had to kick
more
out
good
guys
training
that do
partners.
that?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually.
No, but we've definitely changed the culture of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
So I think when I started, everybody needed a gym enforcer. Oh, this guy's got,
Keep
doing a bit too good today.
get humbled.
Send Ian over. Or it'll be someone else. Ian's doing a bit too good today. Let's humble him.
Take him down a notch.
So instead of like hamstring him going, okay, you're just going to throw jabs for a bit, or if they can't calm down, a coach coming over and going, hey man, I told you, chill out, just drop down and give me 50 push-ups. And in this break, you're going to do 50 push-ups, and then we're going to get you to spar again. So coach it out of them.
Yeah,
It definitely,
rather than
does,
You know,
it definitely does come down to the coaching.
Yep.
Yeah, you can-
Allowing it to happen or not.
You can coach
Yeah,
them out
true.
of them, you know, and it doesn't matter whether it was a boxing gym or a jiu-jitsu gym. The idea of a gym enforcer is actually an old school one, and there'll be a whole heap of people out there going, nah, screw that, Ian. You need a gym enforcer. People need to be told. But it doesn't really teach them anything. It doesn't make them any more disciplined, any more technical, any more strategical. You know, it doesn't help that person control their emotions better when they fight. So what happens when they're not the gym enforcer?
Yeah, could just put a bigger
know?
chip on their shoulder. Yeah,
You know, and are you helping that person actually be a better person so they're not just a boxer or they're not just a jiu-jitsu guy, you know? Because what do they have then when they're injured or anything else? You're actually not building their character at all.
yep.
Yeah, the character is a lot more important than the athlete, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. But I think like if you sat down and you did some interviews with a lot of champions, I think you'd find 1 out of 10 is like a psychopath or a sociopath. But the other 9 out of 10 are really smart, intelligent,
Humble.
well-resourced, humble,
Down to earth people.
good
Yeah.
manners.
Yeah.
I think that's what you would find to be the majority, as opposed to you need to be a psychopath.
Where-
and you need
That's
to
probably
just,
media,
if you
media.
got 10 everyday people, 1
be
in 10 is
similar.
probably a psychopath.
I know what you're saying. Like the
Maybe.
media make out that sport is the opposite. You know, there's 80% of them are all psychopaths, especially with the cage fighting and
Yeah, we definitely need to. We need to sing it from the top that it isn't, and it's not the way, because you know that's what happens when you have these crazy sporting parents that are just like, no, my kid's the only important one. It's like, hold on, man, they're under 10,
I found
they're good, I get it, but now it's their job to help the other kids get good.
Yeah.
You know, not to start training like an adult and get carried away, and they just end up like hopping gyms and doing their thing, and then they'll be these junior champions. But, you know, most of the time you're probably not going to see them later on, and if you do, unfortunately, they might end up growing into egos and characters that aren't going to be so helpful anyway.
How long did it take? This is fucking random. Jump back into things. How long did it take you to get your black belt in jiu-jitsu, especially having to travel away? Like you said, you weren't really training much up here. And that.
Definitely, my coaches definitely made me suffer, probably 15, 16 years.
yeah, right.
Probably 15,
Fuck,
16
man,
years.
that's so cool though
Yeah.
that you stuck it out for that long.
It
just to
wasn't-
get it, you know.
At the beginning, I always tell people it wasn't a huge part of my focus. I did jiu-jitsu because I wanted to be good at fighting.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so a lot of it at the beginning was a lot of no-gi jiu-jitsu. And when I started to find a coach and said, hey, will you be my coach? Like, no one's graded me. No one's done anything. I've been doing this jiu-jitsu thing now for 7 years and fighting professionally. But I've got students and we want to compete in jiu-jitsu comps, you know, and all these other things. So I need to get graded. So it was never about me. It was always about my students. But my coach definitely made me suffer for a couple of years on every belt anyway. But now we've changed that, you know, like we're better resourced, we're better structured. The guys don't have to wait as long. I think 7 or 8 years might have been how long it took
Like
my guys.
Like an average
To
for
go
what?
from white
I
to
think
black.
so.
okay.
But Fiona Muxlow, who trains with me, she was even longer than me.
Wow.
You know, jumping coaches, taking time off, you know, and she just kept training for the love of it. And then she ended up back with us, so we were able to help her. But she started jiu-jitsu in the 90s.
Oh shit!
You know, she fought Chris Cyborg.
Really?
She traveled all over the world. She
Holy.
fought in New Zealand. She
lives here.
fought Sambo in Russia. Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, so she was a little bit of a trailblazer for jiu-jitsu, and at one point in time, she was purple belt jiu-jitsu world champion, like in the early 2000s. Yeah, so she was a bit of a trailblazer, you know. And funnily enough, I'm pretty sure she opened the first CrossFit gym in the Southern Hemisphere. So
What a
shout out,
Unreal.
shout out to Fiona, who's always done her own thing, and she's been a cool addition to our team. So
That's sick.
Yeah, that's cool.
she's really cool. Again, another North Queenslander, you know, quietly
Yep.
quietly doing her own thing.
There's so many people
There's
just
a lot
walking
of them
around with cool stories, that you wouldn't know.
We love to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
Love to hear, the hidden North Queensland talents.
Yeah, she's got some good stories.
Fighting Sambo in Russia.
Yeah, that'd be wild. That would be
Yeah,
full
so
on.
she lived in Thailand for a bit of time, I think, before she fought Chris Cyborg. You know, training with guys like Roger Herder, and she's got some cool stories.
What about one of the legends that you fought? One of Kevy's little idols.
He's
He man crushes.
He's, he's my favourite fighter, Robbie Whittaker.
Yeah,
Look at him blushing.
I'm getting red. I'm already red.
yeah.
No, I like how he carries himself outside of the octagon.
Yeah, he's not a bad guy. I was 30 something when I fought him. He was in his 20s.
He's like 7-1 or coming up. Pretty good prospect at the time.
Yeah, he might have even had more. He probably had a bigger winning streak than that.
Yeah.
To be honest, he was 10-1 or 11-1 or something. Right after knee surgery, I was kind of struggling to find good matchups.
After your knee surgery, or
After my first knee surgery, so I tore my ACL in a Thai boxing match. I dumped a guy on my knee in the first round. Well, that was kind of a good story itself. It was here in Townsville. This guy had 20 or something Thai boxing fights, but I knew he was real scrappy, so I thought I'll just deal with him being crazy in the first round and I'll clinch him a bit and dump him a little bit to tire him out, because I didn't think he had too much of a gas tank, but like really violent guy. And I dumped him and he fell real hard on my knee. And I came out and I threw a kick and I just fell over. I was like, oh, that was weird. My knee kind of just wobbled a bit. And then I stood up, threw a punch, fell over. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I came out for round 2 and I was like, I got to figure out what strikes I can throw.
Headbutts.
and not fall over. So I started improvising a little bit and figuring out like which kicks, knees, and punches made me fall over. So I still fell over a bit in the second round, but like once I was able to back him up on the ropes, I could fall over into him.
Yeah.
And the ref got the doctor to come up and check me. In the middle, at the end of round 2, he's gone, Ian, is there something wrong with your knee? I said, yeah, but he hasn't hurt me yet, and there's only one more round.
let me go.
Just let me go. So he let me go, and I ended up knocking him out on the ropes
Fucking unreal.
in the third round. And it was real scrappy and messy and looked terrible.
Got the job done, but
Yeah, and I remember him falling down
However
and
it works.
hitting him again on the way down, thinking, oh, geez, I hope you don't get back. Yeah. But yeah, so then I had surgery and I went and saw a really good guy. Where is it? Someone down here at North Queensland physio anyway. They were doing the Cowboys. So I said, just give me what you give them and tell me when return to sport would be. So return to sport would be about 7 months. So at about 7 months, I started training again and trying to ignore it and pass all the tests with the physio. And then I just wanted to get back in. And Robert Whittaker was the best fight that I could find. So that was, so I took that one.
what organisation was that through? AFC or something?
No, they were called CFC. I'd
CFC.
fought for them before. They used to run
Yep.
parks at Luna Park in Sydney. Yeah, nice venue. A really nice high stadium seating. It, actually, funnily enough, it was the only fight that my dad has ever been to. He hated it, and I got knocked out. Sorry, Dad.
Blame him, bad luck.
You cursed me now.
Yeah, my parents weren't really too super supportive of fighting, but
Yep.
you know, you're gonna do what you're gonna do anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it wasn't a terrible fight. If I went back and watched it, I did pretty good round 1. But I definitely zigged when I should have zagged, and he knocked me out with an elbow from half guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
But look what he's gone on. He's fucking...
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
unbelievable. What he's
Can't
gone on
yeah.
to achieve.
Yeah, really good.
To share the
Australian.
cage with someone like that is pretty
That's
cool.
amazing.
I
yeah.
think at 15 or 16, he kind of really needed to make that decision because he was playing representative league. He
Yeah.
really loved
Another
martial
rugby
arts. He was
player,
like,
yep.
one way or the other. So I think he was always destined to be,
a good
be
athlete.
something.
Great
Yeah,
athlete,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
One crazy stat I wanted to bring up too was out of all your wins, you had 0 decisions. Hey?
The finisher.
Was that just like, did you always go out just looking for a finish, or it just happened, or what was your mindset going into fights most of the time?
Well, I definitely, I went to a decision once and it's haunted me. I just think, like, if you're truly honest with yourself in there, the idea is to win.
Yeah.
You know, and if you've lost part of it, I would rather die trying.
Yeah, I love that mentality. Yep.
You know, so I think later on in my career, so I took some boxing and Thai boxing matches, and I lost some split decisions. You know, and I was really like, I think at the end of my career, starting to figure out, well, this is how to win decisions.
Close ones, yeah.
Too, but mixed martial arts really allows you the ability to be a good finisher. It can teach you to be a really good finisher. You just have more tools, you know. So if someone was a good striker, I'd grapple them, and if they were a good grappler, I would strike them. People used to. It was funny because people used to, you know, if I was fighting a striker, they'd call me a grappler. If I was fighting a grappler, they'd call me a striker. And it was like these idiots are just falling into the plan. Like this is exactly what it should be. To try and like use my strengths against their weaknesses.
That's awesome.
You know, just figure out where I was maybe better, and that's not going to come off all the time. You know, sometimes someone will get their hands on you and they're better than you thought, or they'll surprise you. There isn't a great deal to make.
That actually
mistakes.
reminds me. I remember Lukey Hume saying, I think for some of his amateur fights, he'd wear Muay Thai. If he was fighting a good striker, he'd wear Muay Thai pants to make him think he was a Thai fighter. But then when they wrestled, they wouldn't realize how good his pressure was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu?
He was pretty well rounded.
Yeah.
I think
Interesting.
I think it's a fun thing
Interesting
to
tactic.
be well rounded, but I do think these days a lot of the mixed martial arts guys are quite well rounded and fairly good at not taking damage. We do fight in short, small cages here, 7 meters.
Oh, really?
So it does make it really hard to avoid the grapple, which I think is good because you're forced to become a good grappler first. So when you go to the big stage and people are trying to wrestle you and you're going up against all the American wrestling or the Brazilians that are really good at jiu-jitsu, we're doing all right.
What is it? Is it 7 meters? What's the standard? 10 meters or something?
So I think Acer Arena, the small one where you watch the UFC and it's a little bit quieter, I think that one is just a little bit over 8. And I think the actual one's a little bit under 10.
Oh,
Okay.
9 something. Yeah,
Yep.
right.
I think.
Fuck, 7's tiny
look.
then. If
Yeah.
you think about it, that would really make you
Makes you
grapple.
fight.
Make you grapple.
Yeah.
Puts them together.
Yeah, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's really exciting, and there's some really, really good teams out there. And I honestly think that if you do want to do something, it's not something that you just try. You know, I think mixed martial arts should be left for people that are super dedicated.
All
with
in.
small gloves. Yeah, all in. Like, I mean, people don't know this, but like, you know, when you know people that have fought at that next level, they're often finishing these fights with smashed orbitals and you know,
Jaws
like this
busted.
Tough sport.
jaws busted.
Toughest sport in the
you
world,
know.
I reckon. Yeah.
They're actually like getting to the ends of fights with quite significant injuries.
That first
smashing
Jaya
their hands
Bataya
apart.
and Breeders fight, that was unbelievable. That jaw that Jai had, and he's just like from the second round, I think
I don't
it
know how
was, and
people
fought
do it.
12 rounds, and he's just like, oh, what are you going to do? Give up and then think, oh, I could have been world champion. He's like, fuck that, you just fight.
Yeah, and not an unusual story for boxers either. Like, you're not seeing a whole heap of really old guys inside boxing gyms punching on all the time. It's not that great for your body either.
Definitely.
Especially the 10-second count.
Smashed hands, even the stance a little bit sometimes isn't the best thing for your knees. All the hours road running.
Yeah, the running is the worst. I feel what
Bad on
sort
their
of
knees.
fuck my back and knees a lot. Road running just constantly.
Yeah, true.
Do anything well enough, it'll wear you out.
Yeah.
Live life at a high enough speed.
There's always going to be something.
It'll wear you out.
I like that
you know?
quote. I like that
And
quote.
I think that's worthwhile too. You know, like it's worthwhile really sinking your teeth or body into something that really pushes you. You know, and you're going to wear some scars along the way, but I would rather do that than
And never give it a crack.
then never give it a crack and be like, I mean, you could do nothing and be sore when you're 70 years
Yeah,
old.
yeah,
Let's
exactly,
face it,
exactly,
So
yeah.
if I'm 70 years old walking around with some cool stories in a walking frame, I'm going to put dumbbells on the end of it.
Right. Let's give us your top 5. Let's go favourite fighters first. Might not be the best. We'll hear your top 5 favourite, and then I'll hear your top 5 best.
Oh, I mean, that's a difficult one. Look, I think I really like some of the old guys, so I'd have to say 5's difficult. I think because I like too many, but definitely GSP, Robbie Lawler, Anderson Silva.
Robbie Lawler was definitely.
He's a gangster.
But I really like to throw in some others. Like I really like Lomachenko as a boxer. Okay. I really think it's important to watch good boxers, especially good boxers with good footwork. You know, some of the guys seem to get away with like being the pressure guy forever for their entire careers. It's kind of interesting watching him pressure and fight on the back foot, so you get lots of different looks from him, which is cool. I think in the modern era, I really have enjoyed watching guys like Khabib enforce his style on people, which is something that I think we used to see a little bit in the old MMA.
Like someone who's just so good at one thing,
Yeah.
but he can still dominate.
Yep.
Yeah,
Just
because
found
I
a way to
think
do it every time.
I think you can develop a style of striking that is technical and violent enough that people have to act on it, and when they act on it, it allows you to wrestle. So it can be something a little bit difficult, but say fighting on the back foot constantly and then trying to be a wrestler is a little bit difficult because you have to get inside for your shots. So I think I enjoy watching those guys. I mean, John Jones was amazing because he would wrestle the wrestlers and strike the strikers.
He
Like,
would.
His ego
Yep.
would make him try and beat that person
Yep.
where they were at his best, and that's why he almost lost that fight to Gustafsson, I
Yeah.
think, because his ego, he should have wrestled him.
Yep. He was down the first 3 rounds. Oh, I thought he was losing those
and that's
first
why
3
the
rounds.
rematch went so different. Yeah,
Well, him in rematches, he's insane in rematches. He always just comes back and dominates.
but I think because sometimes he's an ego fighter.
Yeah.
You know, and
So he wasn't doing the right decisions. He was just trying to beat him at their own game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, which can change the outlook of a fight completely, which is something that athletes definitely should be trying to understand. Like you might want to fight to your A game, but maybe your particular A game isn't how you're going to beat that guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know? And that can be a difficult thing if you're not really like self-aware. That's going to be a difficult thing for you to pick up. So I mean, that's again one of those skills that you might pick up from boxing or martial arts that hopefully helps you be a better person. A little bit self-aware of like
Yep.
your strengths and weaknesses is maybe important, and how sometimes your strengths aren't the things that you need to use to get the job
Get
done.
over the line, What about top 5 Aussie fighters?
Top 5 Aussie fighters. Jeez, that's
Or just MMA fighters? Just like top 5 Aussie MMA fighters.
Well, I do shout out to all of them because I always want them to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I try. It's the same with Townsville athletes. Whenever they go away,
Yeah.
unless they've done something personally to me, I want to see them all win. So I like seeing guys like Lewis Chadwick and that go away and then
Jalen. Yeah.
do their best. Jalen, the list is long, but I like to see guys commit and have a little bit of an adventure and get it happening. So at the moment, I think there's some interesting ones to watch. I think Cody Haddon, who's just entered the pool, will be an interesting one to watch. Rommel and his team now have 2 guys in the UFC. They're really handy strikers.
Where was Cody Haddon from? Sorry,
Perth?
Perth. So him and Jack Della, is he? Is that the same gym?
No,
or no,
different gym.
different gym. Okay, yeah,
Different
Both
gym.
from Perth, though. Shit.
yeah. I think JDM's from Perth, isn't he? I think he is.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct, but Luestro Combat Academy.
Okay, yeah.
Their coaches kind of put together a cool little thing over there. Funny guy. I'm sure he seems to have guys on every other show, so I'll probably see him this Friday. But I think those guys are interesting guys to watch. I really like Alex Volkanovski has been more strategical. I mean, you watched him on the Aussie scene. He just used to wrestle everyone, push them up against the cage and really wrestled them. But like in that bigger cage, he's really developed a style to like win points against guys like Max Holloway, who is like the ultimate workhorse.
Yeah.
You know, but Alex was able to match him strike for strike, plus do little things like add a little bit of cage pressure and a takedown here or there if he thought the round was close. You know, that kind of like mindfulness at that level
His gas tank too.
to win decisions is just amazing.
Insanely fit.
Yeah, you can't do it without that.
His
Without that
gas tank
insanely
is
fit gas tank.
top, one of the best gas tanks in the UFC. I think
Yeah.
it's just pressure's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think if you quizzed him on the volume of training that he does to achieve that gas tank, I think you'd find him be pretty
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, for
you
sure.
you don't get that without fucking putting in work. But
Yeah. So I think Alex Volkanovski, but I do like seeing these young guys come through. I like to.
exciting times for Aussie MMA for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of us have gone. You know, like I mean, they go and like you can't be guaranteed how long you're going to last, how long you're going to last there either. Like again, it's a really difficult sport, but you got to start looking at the statistics of what's realistic. You know, even though like these dreams aren't super realistic, you have to understand that most fighters that reach the UFC are there for no longer than 3 years. Which, funnily
that's
enough,
crazy stat.
is the same thing for NRL players.
Really?
Most NRL players pay for under 3 years.
Yeah.
So, two tough sports.
Yeah, they're
Two
tough
extremely
sports. And
tough
it's like for every person that stayed there for 10, imagine now how many had to fill those spots to find that guy that was genetically resilient enough in the body and all the other mental toughness and support, like resources, because there's a whole heap of resources behind these people as well.
Definitely.
Like just having a bunch of good friends that stand by you,
Yep.
you know, like, are you willing to work 20 to 40 hours a week while chasing your dream as well? I get people all the time, I think I'm going to go pro, and so I'm going to reduce my hours at work. I'm like, if you can't train 3 hours a day and work 40, you got the wrong mindset to begin with, you know, because I tried taking time off from work for fights and I just ended up tired and poor. So you can be tired and poor or tired to have money. Working during the day isn't going to make you any less tired from the 3 hours of training.
Yeah.
So you got two choices, tired and poor or tired and money. I'd rather be tired and have money.
Yeah, same.
You know, like at least a little bit, you know, so you need something to fall back on. And I think that's where that balance comes in too. You know, like if you're squirreling away at an apprenticeship, it might not be the thing. Or if you're a concreter like Alex Volkanovski was, I mean, he was still pouring concrete for his first couple of contracts.
That's crazy to think about that, eh? Some of the
Yeah, but I think that's what builds the endurance and like,
the mentality,
I don't have
the
time to
toughness.
feel sorry for myself. I've got kids to feed.
and concrete is not easy either.
You know, and then you're just like every bag is just like a rep.
Yep.
You know, same as like every time I have to think about something else that isn't fighting, I'm letting my mind relax from that stress. You know, like 3 hours of a day of thinking about technique and fighting is probably enough.
Yeah, you get too worn out otherwise. Hey, mental
never
fatigue
ending.
is
Yeah, mental
massive,
fatigue,
especially
yeah.
leading into fights. I don't think people realise how much your mind
gotta
is
deal with
just
the
thinking
media,
about the fight,
plus
and
the
stuff,
media
it's
and
fucking
promotion and
draining.
everything.
Yeah,
Yep.
Even when there's a really big fight I want to watch, sometimes I'll avoid watching the undercard.
oh yeah,
So I can really watch that fight from like more of like a objective kind of like fan spot. So
Yeah.
I'll be like, well, what's this guy gonna do to win?
Yep.
And actually suck all of that in
yeah.
Yep.
the first time and not be mentally drained
So
from
it's
watching
fresh.
all the fights
Yeah,
beforehand.
true, yeah.
I think that's a really fun way
Yeah, true.
to watch fights.
Because it is a big day watching the fights when you watch the prelims and everything.
Oh,
By the time you watch the main event.
If you watched all the prelims, you're almost like
That's-
for a UFC
You're like 6
event.
hours.
That's what I do.
watching a
That's
fight.
it.
Some,
I'm
some
one
of
of
the
them
boxing
freak
events
nerds.
are the same, right?
Yeah.
Like you get on
Yeah,
there.
5-6 hours.
By the
fucking-
time you get to the fight that you really want to watch,
Yeah.
you're like drained.
That's
You don't
interesting.
even want
That's
to
good to know because
concentrate.
I'm one of them nerds. I watched all the prelims. I should
Yeah.
definitely do that.
I press record, I
Yeah.
save it, and then
Yeah.
I'll just come back and I'll
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
the prelims bit by bit, ages, but, you know, a little bit after. But I think it's a fun thing to do.
That's an interesting sort of
Yep.
way to look at it, eh?
Yeah, freshen up.
Yeah,
for
it
the
tires
main
me
event.
out. Maybe I might have an attention deficit disorder or
Well,
something.
you'll
I might
probably
not be able
study.
to-
You probably see a lot of stuff that
I don't
us
know.
fans don't see because it's your job. You know?
Well, that's a good
So
reason
you're-
to train
you're
too. Get down to
analysing
your
that.
local club. Like if you're a fan of Thai boxing or boxing, and just you don't have to train every night, but 3 days a week wouldn't hurt you. You know, it's something that's fun. You
Better
go to
than
the
nothing.
gym 3 days a week and stare yourself in the mirror. You know? It's maybe not the best thing for your mental health. Yeah, you know, never good enough. You know?
Talking
Flex
about
the
your gym,
biceps.
like opening up your gym, was that always something you expected to do after fighting, or it just sort of happened? Because you have an amazing facility. Anyone around, like in Townsville,
Yeah.
want to get into MMA, jiu-jitsu, striking, anything. Courage
Townsville.
Training Centre is an amazing
And most people know.
facility.
So it's a well-known gym too.
It's just a consequence of like a passion for the sport. I really, really love all the different parts, and I mean, we used to have fitness classes as well, so I could teach people how to do conditioning. And I mean, I think a little bit differently about conditioning. I think there's a lot of different ways fighters can condition for fights, and a couple of like really bad things that they should avoid. You know, but there's different ways to be successful for fight conditioning. But after COVID, we got rid of all the fitness classes. But I did enjoy the fitness industry because it did help me build martial arts clubs, all the boot camps and things that I did, and for the years that I personal trained for. But we kind of niched off a little bit more now. But yeah, just a consequence of every year, just a little bit better, you know, and just trying to like, you know, have martial arts be a positive effect. And when I couldn't train because I was injured or something, I poured more energy into coaching and more energy into the business. And you're like, oh man, these guys need more space.
Yeah.
You know, we need a ring. Like, and we had a cage and a 3 meter ring in a 290 square meter building with 70 meters of mat, which is what we started with. Yeah. It was tiny, and we packed that place out, but you know, it was like we have to have a ring. So I put a ring and let the weather hit it outside, just so we could get better ready for Muay Thai and boxing matches. Because, like I said, like I wish I had a coach going, "Hey, Ian, there's no fights. Let's go box." You know, "Hey, Ian, there's no fights. Let's go Thai box."
Ring time's ring time, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it is, and it's so valuable training the parts. So even for boxing, right, and I'm sure you guys do it, it's so valuable jab sparring. It's so valuable lead hand sparring, body boxing, or putting your foot into a hoop or a tire and you're not allowed to use
Inside,
footwork. You're stuck on the inside. These are, for skill development, training the parts and like not having to think about everything is really, really important. So if you really want to build the best mixed martial artists, I think it's really good to be able to train with specialists and compete with specialists, especially while you're an amateur.
Yeah.
You know, because eventually that's going to be taken away for you. And I have this like side quest that I truly believe that the future of combat sports for like Australian level athletes and whatnot will be multi-sport athletes. You know, there was a young guy recently, Cooper Royale, that's kind of been doing that. You know, he's been fighting mixed martial arts, pro boxing, Thai boxing, and doing quite well in all of them.
Awesome.
Really?
You know, Trent Gurdon was another one that has fought pro boxing. You might have seen him on some of the undercards of the big fights.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
Yeah, and you know, and people were always, I'm not sure how well he would do, man. He was kicking ass against really, really good pro boxers, having really, really exciting matches. And I think that's the future, because you might not make the big time, but you can still make a little bit of money here, a little
in
bit
between,
there, have a little bit of an adventure. Like
Yep.
it's, you know, like the
Side
adventure.
quest, yeah, I get what you're saying.
The
Yeah.
adventure of it is really fun. So for anybody out there, you know, that's really trying to make it, make sure you enjoy the adventure along the way, because, you know, a lot of us that didn't get as far as we wanted to for whatever reasons, the adventure and the things that you commit to and the process are the things that are the best for you by the end of the day anyway.
And like you say, the stories that you have at the end.
Yeah, it's nice to have some stories. I'm sure the older we get, the nicer it is to have some
The older
stories.
you get, the better you were too.
Man, I always tell the guys, like, you know, like, you guys are heaps better than I was. You know, like, I don't think I was that good, but I was definitely the hardest worker.
Do you think you're a better coach than you were fighter? Because I believe I am.
Yeah, I don't think everybody's destined for coaching though.
Yeah.
You know, like, some people are into coaching for themselves. If you're into coaching, you really need to be in coaching for other people and your team.
I want everyone to be better than I was.
Yeah, 100%. I want everyone to be better than I was, but I do want to set a standard for people that fight in boxing, Thai boxing, mixed martial arts, that you guys are the leaders. So you're a leader of the club, you're the defender of the standards, so we can have hobbyists that come in and you're the standard.
You're the captain.
You know, the example, and you're never too cool to do classes. You get
Yeah.
too cool to do classes, you're too cool to train with them.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, like, if you can't do classes, you know, like, how are you now going to have a whole heap of new great sparring partners in 12 months? You know, because you just want to wear them out. You want to do your own thing over there, but you don't want to invest in these new guys.
I think it's awesome that you can have, like, you could have the champ, but they're training with people in their first week, and that's important.
You can, and if they don't have a fight coming up, they should be helping those people. But if they've got one coming up, we're pretty good at making sure that
Focusing on them and stuff. Yeah.
that we partner people up. And I think the team like to see it. Oh, they're doing really similar training to us. You know, they just got to be. He doesn't get any rest over there. And he's going to train with all the really good guys at once.
Before we get into the guest questions, I got one more question. What is your favorite thing about coaching?
Funnily enough, it's not even like, I mean, I love the adventure of the pro fighters, but I like to see somebody weak become strong. That really scared person that you think, oh, man, I'm not sure that this is for you. Like, sometimes, every now and then, like, we'll get a diamond in the rough, and it'll probably happen like once or twice a year that I'll get somebody come in and they just, like, they'll surprise the shit out of you. You know, we got a young guy training with us at the morning, Bradley. I wonder if Bradley will see this.
Shout out, Brad.
Shout out, Bradley.
If you listen.
Man, his mum was so frightened for him. And I was like, you know, he's got a couple of, like, issues, you know, we won't mention them here, but obviously his mum was worried about him. And I was like, yeah, but Mum, how old is he? He's like 21. I said, well, let us help him become a little bit of a man. Why don't you just drop him off and leave him to see with you? I promise we'll look after him. And she was a bit worried we were going to beat him up or something. He was so soft when he come, but he was so into it, and now he spars with everyone.
That's
and
wicked.
it's good. Just I like that. I think sometimes that's more satisfying than I get a guy. He's clever. He knows how to understand his body. He's coachable. You can help him. He follows the process. He gets good. But, like, that's how it should be. But you get someone that maybe comes from a soft background, or they have learning difficulties, or a different culture even. You know, you imagine someone...
It's like you witness them themselves find themselves.
Yeah. We've had
gained confidence.
women from other cultures that have come in that, you know, like, they're scared, don't want to train with men, that all of a sudden in 3 months are training with men, punching with them,
That's
wrestling
cool.
with them, and all these other
Wow.
types of things as well. Like, I like that.
That's
I really
rewarding
Like
or
that.
what?
I think that's
so
more rewarding. Like, because I think, like, if an athlete really does listen to me, you will do well.
Yep.
Like, and I truly believe that. So that's not really like super difficult coaching, but you have to, like, get a whole different level of maybe compassion and patience for those other people, and it might make you a better coach for your athletes as well, to understand that, like, hey, why is this athlete gone from, like, turning up every day and being really good to, like, not turning up and being a diva? Like, have you even asked him if anything's wrong? You know? Like, so sometimes you got to pull him up and go, hey, man, what's wrong? Why aren't you turning up? This isn't what got us the win last time. Like, what's happening? Is something happening? Is there something maybe that you can support them?
It's more than just a sports coach sometimes.
Well, I think it's part of sports coaching. Some people like to not believe that it is, but I think
You're
it
a
is.
psychologist,
Yeah,
you're a bloody
yeah.
mentor, you're
Yep.
everything.
I think, coaching routine, discipline, habits, maybe a kind of stoic philosophy is maybe that's up to coaches because their parent, like Wayne Bennett said it, I'm going to steal it from him.
Yeah.
The parents aren't doing it. The schools aren't doing it. They might go to a psychologist who we kind of know these days, some of them might not be doing it because they have questionable ideas. Well, if they didn't, we wouldn't have half of the weird things that we have on the news these days.
Definitely.
If we didn't have branches of counselling and psychologists that are on the wrong side of psychology, and they are theories.
Yeah.
They're psychological theories. So I think maybe martial arts and coaching is maybe the medicine to some of what we need. So coaches can be that. And you can say no to people.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, don't fit in here.
Yep.
You can say that, because you have to then protect it for your space for the people that do fit in there. So I think that's an important thing to realise, that it's not just all business all the time. You have to look after, you got to look after the good people. Because you could look at our place and go, oh man, that's just big business. But it's not really. Like if you looked at the profit margins, it's not really. But you do have to protect it for the people that are willing to do the right thing in the space. So people that walk in as divas or that have requirements for me or tell me how much they're going to train to fight.
Yeah.
Just tell them to go somewhere else pretty quick.
That's fair, I
But
reckon.
yeah, taking someone weak to strong,
Yep.
Yeah.
that's fun. And I've actually had some people that probably started like that and fought, which is,
That's amazing. And hats off to anyone who hops in the ring, let alone someone who didn't really have that
Yeah.
self-confidence to begin with.
yeah, I like that, but I think these people sometimes that don't train find places that they can just step into the ring without training. So hats off to anyone who can be willing to do the training and step in the ring. You get a little bit of harsh coach bone there. I don't respect all of you if you don't do the training. You're not cool.
We'll finish with the guest questions.
Get in the guest questions. Go off
Appreciate
on a
your time
tangent.
so far, man. We got
Yeah.
some random guest questions
Yeah, this
here
is
that we ask everyone. And
The random choices. If you could eat anything for the rest of your life, one meal or one cuisine, what are you eating?
Steak and salad.
simple.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Steak and salad.
Old
Fresh
faithful.
food. Big steak.
Yeah.
Big
I
salad.
think I said steak too.
Yeah, you did.
But with chips, no salad.
Steak and
Man,
chips.
I like a good salad with like the right amount of dressing, the right amount of cheeses, olives, all the good stuff. I love a good salad.
Steak
Fresh
and
food.
salad. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite ever athlete? Give us someone outside of combat sports. That could be interesting, if there's any, or whatever.
Geez, that's a difficult one. I mean, when I was growing up, it was fun watching Kathy Freeman run.
Yeah.
I think in the Olympics, I think that probably shows my age a little bit. But I think the things that she did in and out of sports and the role model she was at the time for people, I think was kind of cool. I suppose, shows my age a little bit. But I do like watching those Olympic athletes.
Yeah.
They're poorly paid athletes at the start.
It's ridiculous,
Just
eh?
doing it for the love of it.
Especially Aussie
Working
ones,
jobs.
like they get no support, hardly.
Yeah, I wouldn't know of the systems, but yeah, I enjoyed watching the Olympics as a kid, and I think Kathy Freeman was probably one of the most exciting athletes.
We all remember
At
that
that
as a
time,
kid,
yeah.
eh? That
That's
was
a great
awesome.
2000.
It was epic.
Yeah, because she was running all the
Yeah.
races too, right? So she was as close as we get to a Usain Bolt.
Yeah. What's the most awkward or shittest situation you've been in?
Oh God.
Every time.
Every time I demo a technique in class and I fart, that's pretty
What's that? That's a regular
it out,
thing,
yeah.
eh? Regular occurrence.
It can happen.
How do you play that off?
No, it's just the mat
Oh,
squeaking.
the mat
squeaky mats.
You just got to own it.
Squeaky man.
Whoops.
What's your favourite album of all time? Or favorite band of all time, musician.
Oh, geez, I'm definitely a mood music listener, so it depends on the mood.
Yep.
But if I had to go favorite album of all time, I'd probably go Nirvana Unplugged.
Oh, nice. True. The Unplugged.
Yeah, I like the Unplugged because you could listen to that happy, sad, mad on a drive.
Yeah.
you could listen to that anytime. I think Nirvana Unplugged.
Good choice.
Yep. Awesome.
What's something you're not good at?
I mean, the list would be long. The list would be long. I'm not super good at being a handyman or being on the tools or building almost anything.
I'm the worst.
I think every time the gym does a fit out and like I volunteer to be a labourer or I'm trying to learn, like just treat me like your son.
Yeah.
I never had a dad teach me this stuff. Shout out to Dad, he's a good dad, but he couldn't fix shit either.
My missus always gives me shit because I'm the least handy person. I said, yeah, but it's good to have a heap of mates who have trades.
And I would sometimes spend like 3 times as much as Bunnings to fix something than I would just paying someone to come out and do it. It's like, I'm up to $300 to put a toilet roll on the wall right now.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
How is this so difficult? So maybe we can put that in the schools instead of instead of some of the other stuff we got at the moment.
Definitely.
Little handyman skills.
What's something you're good at that people don't realise? Hidden talent.
Geez, you'd have to ask the team. You'd have to ask the team. I think I'm probably better at organising things than people realise. Like there's maybe a lot of work that goes on
Your time management.
Behind the scenes.
behind the scenes that people don't realise.
If people seen how much this guy does and even just his gym setup and stuff, there's a lot of organising, I'm sure, that takes place.
There's a lot of stuff that goes behind the back scenes, and I'm good at building relationships sometimes with the right people. I think it's important that if you want help from people, that you have to go to them and you have to do all these things first. I mean, even my jiu-jitsu coach for years, Paul, I was a 21 fight MMA professional and he wouldn't give me a blue belt. And I'm like, Paul, I'm trying to do this gi jiu-jitsu comp that you want me to do. And he made me fly to Sydney and wrestle this black belt champion. Then he made me fly to Canberra and wrestle someone else. I was having to take flights and go places and beg and be like, hey man, just give me this belt so I don't look like a coward at this next jiu-jitsu comp, please. I didn't want to be a professional MMA fighter competing in a white belt jiu-jitsu comp. So all you pro MMA fighters that are doing that, you look like cowards. Stop it. Stop it, for God's sake.
Beg your coach for an upgrade.
Yeah.
And what is your favourite ever quote or motto you try to live by?
Geez, I have a lot.
You've already ripped out some good ones today.
I definitely consume a lot of that content and try and, from a coaching perspective, try and read lots of books about self-development and things like that. I think I've looked into coaching courses before, and I think there's a lot of fluff. If you wanted to do that thing, and I think if you really want to be good in a space, and I think I've really wanted to I feel like I should be teaching my martial artists not only to be technical but to learn how to learn techniques themselves, so I try and created a group learning culture where technicality was part of the culture. I'm not the only one responsible for the technicality or the strategy of the team, the martial artists themselves. It's a team thing that we build a fight IQ and technicality. So I think my job often has been effort and things like that. So I try and consume a lot of that content. So I wouldn't say I have a favourite one, but I do love the idea of you ultimately being responsible for everything. So a little bit of the Jocko Willink stuff from Extreme Ownership, I think is a good one, and it kills me sometimes. I've gifted that book so many times, because I'm just watching people their lives. I'm like, man, you keep complaining about this, that, and everything else, DVA, everything else. Here, have this book.
My workmate was
I'm
actually
hoping
just
they'll
talking
read
about
it.
I haven't read it. My workmate was actually talking about it this week at work.
It's my most gifted book, Extreme Ownership. He does some really good questions. I feel like he followed a little bit of the method of, there's the 48 Laws of Power is a really good set of book worth reading, where Robert Greene writes about an amazing king or something that had a power struggle or whatnot, and then all the lessons about that story afterwards. And Jocko kind of does the same with his tour from Afghanistan. He'll talk about a story and something that happened.
Yeah, that's what my mate.
And then how he then uses it to coach people or in the business world. So it's a really good book. And I mean, really the idea of it is like you're ultimately responsible for everything. It's like you steal from me, it was my fault.
Yeah, right.
You know, like I gave you an opportunity to steal.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So for me to stop that happening again, I have to take full responsibility for you stealing from me.
That's the
Which
thing.
is really hard for people to think about. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I mean, you betrayed me, but I gave everything to you to betray me. And you if you don't open yourself up to betrayal, you'll never truly love someone. You can't control them. You can't do all those types of things. But where did they betray you, and how could you have seen it earlier? Because ultimately, like, it's your fault. Do you want to treat people differently, or were there signs that maybe next time you can call people out on their betrayal a little bit earlier?
Accountability is a big thing.
Yeah.
That people, to be honest, I probably struggle with it at times.
Yeah, 100%.
We-
So like,
Same.
We all do. So, I mean, my coaching page, I definitely don't. I talk a lot about this stuff on my coaching Facebook page and sometimes my Instagram sometimes. And it's not because I'm good at these things. They're lessons that I'm learning and relearning every year about myself and
Yep.
what I do and everything else. And also, it's like if you can't fight anymore, like if you're a boxing coach or a Thai boxing coach or a jiu-jitsu coach and you can't compete and you can't fight anymore and you can't show people the way, show people how boxing, Thai boxing and jiu-jitsu has helped your life and how you're using those lessons off the mat. And then maybe your athletes will start to go, hey, maybe this is a good idea for me to not have so much chaos in my life or whatnot. They'll do it as well. So I think definitely ownership, you know, accountability, I think is definitely something we should be trying to show people that we do for ourselves too. You know,
definitely.
Another thing that should be taught in schools.
yeah. I mean, they're trying. They got a lot
age,
of
that age is a hard age too.
They got a lot of. They got a lot of things. They got a lot of things going on. I think
just being bound by the shitty curriculum is a big thing for schools.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could probably do a podcast on just the issues.
We've spoken a bit about
schools,
that in the
but-
past and the EQ system and how
I suppose
things should
it's
change.
just, I mean,
but
if you just go back, like it's the labeling, right? Like if I'm labeling myself as attention deficit disorder, I'm like immediately going, well, I don't have this thing that I'm dealing with. I'm my kid, or I'm naughty because I can't concentrate, rather than, oh, I can't concentrate, so I know in class I have to sit at the front and use my manners because otherwise I'm not going to keep up with everyone else. You know, rather than going, I can't concentrate, so I'm just going to do whatever the hell you know, like you got to manage these things, whatever they are. Again, just extreme ownership from these things rather than labeling is, I think, something that maybe sports coaches can help people with. It's like, okay, well, we've got a problem. You know, it's like, okay, you've got a broken hand, you're training for a fight. Well, we
Kick
can,
more.
If we see a fight, kick more, elbow more, develop the other parts of the game. You know, like switch your stance, do whatever, but keep turning up. I think that kind of flexibility, ownership, and accountability again is one of those lessons that we can learn from martial arts.
Sure, very true.
No, awesome. We might wrap it up there, Ian. Appreciate the
Thanks
time,
for
man.
coming
That
on,
was
man.
fucking great
Much
insight.
appreciated.
Thanks, gentlemen. It was fun. You guys are doing good things. Keep podcasting. I'm sure I hope your mates enjoy it, and I hope everybody gets something out of today. And hope everyone goes down and does some boxing with Haydo. And
Yeah, cheers, man.
Shout out to Courage Training
Yeah,
Centre.
Courage.
all the team.
all your philosophical stuff you're sharing, all your coaches page. Where can people follow?
So they could follow me on Coach Bone Courage on Instagram, or they can find Ian Bone Martial Arts Coach on Facebook, and or you can just follow Courage Training Centre. I often like cross post all the stuff. Anyway, you can see what the guys are up to. Again, if you're interested in martial arts for yourself or your kids, I really think, you know, if you don't get down to us, at least get down to someone else. Give it a go. You know, and all the sports parents out there, whether you're, you know, a good message, whether you're rugby league parents, netball parents, or martial arts parents, step back.
Yeah.
Let the kids be kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
Let 'em have
awesome.
fun.
Great message
good.
there.
Yeah.
Go follow all them. Look out for the upcoming shows as well. Head down to the Ville this weekend.
Ville this weekend coming.
No, Ville will be next weekend.
Next weekend.
Next
Well,
weekend.
that's good. This will
Ville.
come out.
Yeah,
by
I
then.
think the week this is out, it'll be that week, the 22nd of March.
Yeah, 22nd of March, and you'll be
So-
able to get tickets from their website, Aggression Thai Boxing.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks for coming on, Ian.
Thanks for
Pleasure.
tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time. Peace.